Good morning to my professor, Dr. Amirul, and my fellow friends. I'm Angeline David, will be presenting assessing audit risk during the pandemic and how the pandemic is accelerating the future of audit. The first slide will be the introduction and problems on how the pandemic is accelerating the future of audit. Auditors' assessments and responses to risk of financial statement misstatement and fraud are critical to audit quality. Risk assessments in the current environment are unlike any others as clients are dealing with significant changes to their businesses, the work environment, and the economy overall as a result of COVID-19. Despite the added complexities, auditors must continue to focus on high quality audits that fully comply with standards for objectivity and professional skepticism. Since the pandemic developed in 2019, auditors have needed to keep their finger on the pulse of changes worldwide. In March, as many firms were completing year-end 2019 audits, there was some impact to certain clients' operations as the pandemic continued. More audit procedures had to be modified for subsequent reporting cycles, and macroeconomic forecasts became increasingly important. This isn't simply a matter of conducting an audit over video chat or taking a traditional process and moving it online. You can share computer screens, but you still need clear documented evidence. Otherwise, an audit is not an audit. It's a conversation. Auditors have had a number of months to adapt to this environment, have conversation with clients and assess the challenges. They cannot sacrifice audit quality despite the circumstances. Prior to COVID-19, the winds were already changing. Accountants had already been experimenting with new technologies and working with big data to perform higher quality and more efficient and focused audits. What auditors can do. First, know your clients. To assess risk, auditors must understand the client's industry, operations, and capital structure. There are different risk assessments in industries like restaurant or real estate that have highly elevated risk because of the pandemic, as compared with industry like frozen foods that have been benefited from it. The second one will be the challenges of remote work. Many auditors have not been at client location since March. Access to client documents has changed, along with the ability to sit down with the client accounting personnel, requiring more robust planning upfront. Conversation could be more informal before, but you can't walk down the hall to the client's office anymore, so you must organize this from a virtual perspective. Third one is changes in firm practices. Remote working has driven changes in how auditors work regardless of office size or location. Some firms have online audit planning meetings and created a remote auditing task force that has come up with consistent processes and procedures across audit, toolkits, and checklists. Staff training is important because employees are not in the office. Many firms are conducting training remotely, including targeted training on audit risk during COVID-19. In addition, firms are holding monthly remote audit department meetings and issuing periodic guidance to make sure all staff are up to date. In the current environment, it is important to remind people of the foundational principles of documenting judgments and conversation, gathering and evaluating audit evidence, and exercising professional skepticism. The fourth one is technology. The transition of remote work has been made possible by leveraging technology, and firms of all sizes are investing in transformation tools and innovation technologies. Use of technology has made the auditors and their clients' job easier. Auditors are using data tools to extract client general ledger data and perform analysis remotely, which takes some of the burden of providing audit support off clients. Auditors can look at large amounts of data and relationship, filter data to identify and focus on higher risk transaction, and craft responsive audit steps. The fifth one is internal control. Changes in operations and office closures as a result of the pandemic significantly affect controls and risk assessments. Clients are doing the best they can to control and process transaction, but for many, no enhancements are possible if controls are not in place. Risks are higher. They expect the biggest risk is review of transaction. Segregation of duties is always a significant issue, but some duties are currently not being performed. There are also maybe weaknesses in governance over financial reporting because of the remote work and people being less engaged. Even when the auditors are not required to test controls, they must understand the design and implementation of controls. Controls may have changed for basic processes, and auditors cannot observe the controls in operation. And the last one is forecasting. The ability to forecast has been challenging for clients due to uncertainty about the tech economy and the pandemic, and creates risk in accounting areas that rely on forecasted results. Companies are forecasting more frequently and or forecasting multiple scenarios and weighting the outcomes of the probabilities. Some companies have a bias to start with the pre-COVID results as an initial target, and once pre-COVID result has achieved, assume they will resume normal growth, but this may not be the reasonable if the pandemic result is a new normal economy and business model. The next slide is about the challenging accounting issues in the current environment. First is impairment. There is increased potential for tangible and intangible assets impairment. Impairment accounting requires reliable client data to predict future cash flows, and auditors must apply significant skepticism when looking at the client models. Going concern. Companies must expect to have sufficient cash flow and liquidity 1 year from the report data. Auditors know their clients and understand their industries and should anticipate going concern issues along with the management's ability and willingness to assess going concern and have proactive conversation upfront. Estimates. Auditors must evaluate estimates and assumptions, including the use of third-party data. There need to be more conversations about independence, which can be a challenge if clients do not have the skills and look to their accountants for guidance in coming up with estimates. Next is fraud. Fraud risk factors are increasing, and auditors should be aware of them. There are also economic pressures for employees and their families that change the motivation to commit fraud. The last one is contractual modification. Changes to contracts as a result of COVID-19 and economic pressures affect accounting for revenue, compensation, and leases. This is a complicated area with different accounting models to apply, which requires significant judgments. Next slide is we are going to see the critical analysis based on the article. How the pandemic is accelerating the future of audit. Navin Kalia, a partner in KPMG's financial service practice, he have professional experience for about 20 years, served as the group leader of the Financial Institute audit practice and responsible for managing all aspects of the practice, working with his partners to deliver quality service to their clients. He is also lead partner on a number of the firm's financial institution clients, having been an auditor and advisor to major banks, insurance companies, investment dealers, and finance companies. He lectures on financial services accounting matters to groups of regulators, financial service organization management, and KPMG personnel, and is currently a member of KPMG's technical topic team for insurance. He is designated internally as an audit specialist in financial instrument and hedging matters. His other responsibilities within the firm have been included leading Toronto's office recruiting efforts by setting hiring strategy and having final approval on all hiring decisions for over 120 new CPA students annually. Navin Kalia has also been a partner responsible for staffing and resources allocation for the entire GTA audit practice. Next slide is about auditing through the pandemic. Future of audit is not just about remote audits. It is about transforming underlying processes using technology to achieve three objectives, which is a higher quality audit, a more efficient audit, and a better business insight of their client through the traditional audit process. Pandemic has resulted in new risks. There have been significant changes to internal controls as a result of remote work arrangements. Larger firms were well underway in the process of digitizing their documents. smaller firms with just getting started or only part way through. Three ways technology is transforming audit. Auditing has traditionally been a process based on statistical sampling techniques, allowing the machine technology to perform routine, rule based tests, also results in a much more efficient audit and allows the auditing professionals to get razor focused on outliers and anonymized. KPMG has also been working on high risk assessment tools that layer machine-based learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence on top of rules-based algorithms. Next is cloud AI and machine learning. These require the use of both off-the-shelf and custom technologies. KPMG in Canada has teamed with tech giants and startups on their digital auditing solutions, picking the best of what's out there and creating a bespoke technology-driven audit. KPMG in Canada is working with other leading companies including MindBridge AI, an Ottawa-based company which uses AI to review and analyze 100% of a client's transaction. And the last one is narrowing the skills gap. KPMG is upskilling auditors to meet these demands through a program called Digital University. KPMG created the Digital University 2 years ago to get ahead of this emerging skills gap, working with Simon Fraser University BD School of Business. Digital University, which is the only one it's kind of in Canada, is graduate program to prepare auditors for an era of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Hope this presentation is benefited to all. That's all from me. Thank you.